All right, welcome back everybody. I am going to do another InDesign in a nutshell today, since we have this very unique semester. And I will be going through the last little bit of what you might need to finish up your client booklet. Before we go too far, let me pull up some of those client booklets so you get an idea of what we're going to be setting up. So here we have the cover of the booklet, and then we have 2 pages, one on each side, an about me plus a table of contents. And then each page has one of the items in their main collage that was on the first page, along with 2 alternates. So you'll see that throughout the booklet. Okay. And if we break it down, what we're looking at is, let me go back up to the sofas where we started. We have, if I break it down, let me use this little hand. All of this is done in InDesign, but it has some help from Photoshop. So for example, all of the images that you see of the furniture, so the sofa, the chair, and all of their options, these were masked in Photoshop before they were brought in. If we look at the background, this is also an image. I don't think it was photoshopped, but it was just placed in a frame. And then on top of that, we have another frame. And this frame is filled with color and it has an outline stroke. So right now you know how to do a frame and how to put an image in it, but you don't know how to fill it with color or include an outline stroke. So we'll be going over that today. Along with that, I'll also show you how to just draw simple lines in case you need to draw a line or point to something. And I'll also review how to set up a booklet and change the size. Okay, so coming in here, when you go to start your booklet, you might just click on Create New and do something that is already standard in the system. So by default, we've got a custom 8.5 by 11, but we want to make sure it's facing pages so that we get our book layout. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click Create on that. And then once my screen opens up, I've got my pages, I've got a paragraph menu that I'll probably be working on. And the last thing I want to open up, I'm going to go to Window, and I'm also going to open Links. Now if your screen looks really different than mine, I'd hop back into the first lecture that I did so that we can get our pages looking the same. Sometimes when you start a document, for example, I started the 8.5 by 11, you might want to change it. And this is all hypothetical, but let's say you're working on a project that you actually want printed. And you realize when you go and look at photo books that there is no 8.5 by 11 photo book. There's a 6 by 6, 8 by 8, 10 by 10. Even in Shutterfly, there is no 8.5 by 11. There's an 8 by 11, there's an 8 by 8, 10 by 10, and I even pulled up Costco, 12 by 12. This is really close to 8.5 by 11, but not close, and the 8 by 8, okay? So if you ever want to change the size of your media, I'm sorry if the top of my screen is cut off, but you want to go up to File, Document Setup, and then from here you can change your page size. So using those examples, I'm actually going to change it to an 8 by 8. So before you get started, go ahead and think about the size you want your booklet to be. Again, you're not going to print this, so this is all hypothetical, but it's fun to play with different sizes and to imagine what you could be working with. I'm going to go ahead and save this before I get too far. Where are we? Where's SLCC? You're usually, oh yeah, digital graphics. Here we go. And I will just put it here. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do now is show you again how we use our frame to pull in all sorts of different kinds of content. So if I hit F for frame, you'll see that my toolbar changes automatically. Now, just like Photoshop, we mostly want to be in V. So when I hit V, take a look at what my cursor looks like. It's that move or select tool. But again, if I hit F for frame, it changes. So another review, I can click and drag, or I can click and let go quickly, and I can say how big I want the frame to be. Either way works. Now for today's example, I just switched back to V so I can move these. I'm not going to be doing the Control D to place items. So if I do Control D, what that allows me to do is to place images like that. I'm not doing that today, so I'm going to select in here and hit delete to get rid of that. What I want to do today is show you how to insert color. But before I get too far from frames, what I also want to show you is if you hit F for frame and then right click, there's different shapes. So you can do a circle frame, and if you hold the shift key, it makes it a perfect circle, or if you don't hold the shift key, it's freeform, so you can get more of an oval. So without shift, with shift, without shift, with shift. Oops, I didn't hold it quite long enough. All right, we've got that. And then you can see there's also a polygon frame tool. I haven't had very many people use this one, but that's also an option for you. The three different shapes work the exact same way a rectangle or square frame would work. So just FYI, you can place images in here and also fill them with color. Now let's go ahead and talk about color. And there's going to be a lot of subtleties on our screen that I want to make sure you're comfortable with before I get too far. So to color in this frame right here, I'm going to pull open my color menu and talk about what we're looking at right here. These two are really important. This first square is the fill color, and the fill means how are you going to fill this entire square or container. These frames are known as containers. The other one, if I click on it, this is known as the stroke. And the stroke, as you can see from this little graphic or this image, it's what goes around it. So you can have different colors and different settings for each one of those. So I'm going to go back to my fill, and I'm going to grab any color here. Here's a pink fill, okay? So now you can see here in my color, and you can see it down here as well, okay? Now if I wanted to add a stroke to it, I'm going to click on it again, and what you do is you click on the stroke, and let's grab another color. Let me grab one that looks less like the actual color of the container. Okay, so now I've got pink and green. I'm going to hit W to do a print preview. And again, if I select it, you can see the colors over here on the left as well as the right side of the menu. Now, when you first start this, if you only see black, what you can do is use these this 4-lined square and switch from, I don't know what it would start with, but if it's only showing black, switch to CMYK or RGB to get, pardon me, I had a sneeze that I paused the lecture for. So what I was saying is if you only see black, pull down and change it to CMYK or RGB to see more colors. Now this color swatch over here on the right is pretty hard for me to work with. I think it's really small. One thing I like to do is to come over here to the left side of the menu, and if you double click on it, I'm sorry, maybe it's this one. If you double click on this, yep, it's this one right here, it shows you a larger color palette that you can move through the different color ranges and try to find something a little bit more exact. So the color that you're picking is being shown here. So you can try to fine-tune it over here. Okay. Again, if I pull down, you can see I'm getting into the blue area. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click back on it, and I'm going to try to find like a Crayola blue. So again, I'm going to double click, I'm going to pull this color selector down into my blue. You can see the preview here. And I can even pull down here and try to get a different type of blue as well. I'm going to click on OK. So that's how you can add color and how to add a stroke. Let's talk about strokes a little bit more. Now, if you haven't yet, make sure you go up to Window and open your stroke menu. I have it open here. And let's play around with some of the strokes. The first thing is the weight. The weight is how thick it is. So if I take it to 0, it basically goes away. If I bump that up to 1 or 12, you'll see that the stroke is getting larger. Now, one thing to pay attention to, let me go back to my print preview mode. Let me take this back down to 1. And let me zoom in just a little bit for you. So I'm hitting Command+, or you can use your roller ball while holding the Alt key down. Take a look at where the stroke is going. So if I take this up, the bigger it gets, whoops, I need to have the object selected first. You can see that the stroke is going from the outside line and it's distributing it to the center. So this has to do with the align stroke. Now sometimes if you need that box to be the exact size, you don't want it overlapping, you can go to the inside. So it comes to the inside. Now if you do this and you find that your stroke is covering up something that you want to see, you can switch it to the outside. So it's up to you to play with these 3 things to find the best placement of your stroke. For me, I find being on the inside is the best because then your frames can still align with one another. So I prefer to go stroke inside. The other thing that you can do here is you won't be able to see it here yet, so let me skip past this one. I'm going to come back in just a moment, but you can do different types of joins. So a bevel join gives it a curve. You can also do another bevel join. Okay, you can play with that a little bit. One other option is the type. So if you pull down here, you'll see that there are different types of strokes. I love the dots and the dashes. Think cute coupons that you can make for your family. I'm such a cheese ball. So there's different options that you can use. One other thing that you can do if you have gaps, so like this thin thick, you'll notice that the gap color, this is referred to the gap. Right now the gap color is none, and I think for the most part that's the way to go, but you can add color here. So you can see I made the gap color red. Now if I go to a dashed line, it keeps that red color. And I'm going to change this back, the cap. Now you can see the cap. I want the cap to be straight. Okay, just some options to play with here. Now I don't want you to get too crazy on these. This is more of reference for other projects. I just want you to know that they exist. I personally think the cleaner, more simple the work, the better. Then the furniture and everything else can stand on their own. Let's go back up to solid. Okay. And you can also, while you're here, we're not talking about frames, but there is a line command here. And the line tool is the slash right above the return key. So you can either come click on line or hit the slash, either one. And you just sketch a line and you can see that it borrows whatever stroke properties you had. So it's making it 10, it's also copying the color. And a lot of these same things apply to the line. And there's one other thing that I wanted to show you. There's this start end, and you can add different options for what is at the start or end of your line. These are huge, so you might have to make the stroke a bit smaller. But in case you ever wanted to point something out in an InDesign file, similar to what you do in like a Revit or AutoCAD file, you can use this as well. So again, these aren't anything that I'm expecting, but I just want you to know where these live. Okay, and I'm going to grab my line again. To edit your line after you've drawn it, you actually have to do something a little bit different. You can see right now when I'm clicking on it, I can't edit the line. So what you want to do is actually hit A. It's called the direct selection tool. And then from here, instead of grabbing the frame, it grabs the line. So I can make this line shorter, longer, and honestly, worst case scenario, if it gives you so much trouble, I would just redraw the line instead of trying to edit it. Okay, so there's the difference between the V, the selection tool, and the A, direct selection tool. The only time you use the direct selection tool is if you're working with lines and shapes like this. This is this is a big ode to Adobe Illustrator. So if you've used Illustrator before, you might be comfortable with this already. I don't expect you to be, but just kind of an FYI. It's derived from Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so now we've got some frames, and if I skip down and add some pages, so this would be this first page would be my cover. Pages 2 and 3 is most likely going to be your About Me and your table of contents. But if we keep going from there, this is where you'd actually start to put in your furniture. So we get back into the habit of, adding frames. So you can do a frame to do an entire background. You can keep it white, but at very least you draw a frame to insert your furniture. We do the one of these chairs again from the beginning of the semester. I'll also play with the fitting, which I don't know why that's closed. Let me open that back up. Maybe I'll know where it is. Oh, Naima. This is really embarrassing. This new menu. I'm a little lost with it. So it is under fitting, but I want to see the window of fitting. Where are you? I'm gonna pause. I'm so embarrassed. It was here the whole time. So if I click on this frame, it was under properties, and then I've got my fitting right here. So I'm going to fit content proportionately, so it looks nice in my frame. Again, if you want, you can add a stroke to it. So in the same properties menu, I can make a stroke. And then while I'm in here, I can either go back to the stroke menu, or in properties, most of what we talked about is in here, but you have to click on the word stroke. So this menu is basically this same menu. So properties, stroke, there's most of what we were talking about. So as I mentioned, I like putting it on the inside. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and let me hop back up to the color menu. I guess I can click on it here. I'm still learning 2020. I'm used to going here, but man, if everything's in the properties, maybe I'll take it. Very subtle, but oops. If you want to do a custom color, let's walk through that, because these are just what's called your swatch colors, but I can go to my color menu and do a custom color. Let's even see if I can find like a pink color to match the chair. Pink or purple, I guess. Okay, so you can do something like that. And then just make sure when you put in your text frame underneath it, okay, make sure that they're aligned, center your text nicely and professionally. and really spend some time trying to find a font style that you really like that matches your project. So get that loaded in as well. And hit W to do a print preview, hit W to go back into work mode, and let's say I have some things spelled wrong. Okay, you guys can hopefully see that I have dynamic spelling turned on. So if you want to see dynamic spelling, I want you to go up to Edit, Spelling, and turn on dynamic spelling. And you can also check spelling from here. So again, that's under Edit, sorry if it's cut off, Spelling, check spelling, dynamic spelling. Okay, I'm gonna say that that is it for today as far as adding color to frames, laying out a booklet, and I will be back early next week, maybe the week after, to give you guys instructions on how to package this. For now, I really just want JPEGs and PDFs, but for your final, I will have you do a package, but not until you're almost done working on your entire file. So it was great to see you guys yesterday. Please let me know if you guys have any questions, and I hope to see you all soon. Have a great day.